Welcome to Season 3 of The Lifestyle Chase, and I'm your host, Chris Little. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. To help this podcast grow, please share it on social media, rate 5 stars, tell your friends, and check out the past 140 episodes and counting. You can follow me on Instagram at Christian Little and at The Lifestyle Chase. Thanks for listening. Let's get started. So, welcome to The Lifestyle Chase. This is episode 144. And I have brought a highly anticipated guest. Honestly, of all the times that I've told people about the guest in advance, this one got the most hype. And so I am very pleased to present to you Sam Pogue. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored to share and hopefully get to have a cool conversation with someone I haven't met yet before. So I'm pumped.
Absolutely. And I have to toss in a shout out to Dean Guido. He would want me to say hi to you. So Dean says hi.
Hi, Dean.
So how did your day go today? Take me through the journey, the process. How's life for you right now?
Oh, in general. Okay. Battling with a lot of sleep issues in my current life. I've been a really poor sleeper my entire life. I'm going through some actual pre-surgical interventions. If you guys have listened to James Nestor on Rogan or read his book, Breath, I have the device in my palate right now, pushing my maxilla forward to create enough space to add 2 more teeth up top. I have Invisalign on the bottom to push forward to create 2 more teeth in the bottom. And had a gum and bone graft and a deviated septum. All of this to improve upper airway. It's still, it's a process. So I get about 5 hours of sleep a night. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad-ish. And that's just most nights. And so for me, I'm a pretty high productive individual, but I know that for me to be my most effectiveness going forward, I have to get my sleep taken care of. And this stay-at-home quarantine was an opportunity for me to really work on myself. Previously I traveled a lot. My biggest year was 2017. I flew 67 times before October, over 100 nights in hotels and Airbnbs, 3 time zones a week. And that it takes a toll on you, right? And, it takes a toll on your circadian rhythm and your sleep and your stress levels. And, I was willing to go through it at the time because it was pushing my career in a way that I could have never have asked for. But, now it was, I'm never going to be in a time where I'm at home all day. I can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. So I'll track my macros. I'll track calories. And so I'm working with Dr. Mike T. Nelson, who's an expert in metabolic flexibility. And then also Dr. Zach Couples, Dr. Physical Therapy and myofunctional upper airway work. And it's been just a really great process being able to work on that. And so this morning it sucked. I woke up kind of tired. So I woke up later than I wanted to. And for me, whenever I'm going to be on camera, I want to make sure that I'm present. And, a shitty email can really ruin your day. Right. And I don't want that tone going into your content, my content. So I try not to look at if I don't have to look at my email or any of those kind of things, I don't want that to bug me. Sometimes it's social. I don't get a lot of hate in social, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But I just had a nice cup of coffee and just kind of ease into the morning. Recently, if any of you have followed my career before, recently, I was previously at True Coach and that separation just happened in July and now rolling into my own thing. And so rolling into doing my own content and putting out a product essentially as myself and not just on it where I was before True Coach. And for me, that's while I've done it and I've built products for on it and I've built and run marketing for True Coach, doing it for yourself is still different. And doing it, putting your own thing out there is a different game. And so, it's right now I'm in the test the waters. I'm wondering where is it that I can best serve based on my skill set? And I don't know if I necessarily want to be in the fitness business space, but I know I have a lot of experience I can share. So I just did a free 90-minute webinar this morning just for anybody that's wanting to know about what it takes to get into the internet space. I'm not marketing it as I'm an internet expert. I'm teaching you your funnel. I'm doing it as here's what I think about what you need to know going in before you get started. And then you can start working with the guru, do all the things. But in my experience, right? And while I haven't built my own stuff and launched, which I'm doing now, my my resume is decorated enough to where you can't really argue it. And, I'll play that game with anybody. And so it turns into, wanting to share. And that's what today was. And got off that right before this. And today is a day of being on camera and content, and probably get done and go for a walk after this and come back. And I got to shoot some content for a program I'm getting ready to launch. But it's about, in this new world of working for myself, or no, now working for myself, quote unquote, is ownership of my time and understanding that nobody else owns my time. And I get to control if I want to sit and read for an hour, if I want to go meditate, if I want to go for a walk, if I want to shoot, is that I can have that, and that's okay. But there is a level of self-discipline that is very hard with that entrepreneur world, as well as, all the things of putting yourself out there, which I don't mind. For me, it's about effort. For me, it's like, I don't mind being on camera. I don't mind shooting content. I don't mind. But if I don't undoubtedly want to do it, it's not in line. Like if it's not something I want to run into and just full throwing elbows, I won't be into it. I won't do it. Right. Like it has to tickle my whistle. So that's why even just dabbling with content, like, do I like doing this? Is this what I want to do? And that's what today was, man. It's just been the new norm, but I did this kind of stuff all the time before, but I had a you work for someone else. And now it's like, oh, I got to go be productive after this because I don't have a paycheck coming in unless I do it. So that's the game. That's my day. And, but it's the part where I'm a big believer. I appreciate you being so polite and asking me to come on. And I honestly say yes to every podcast that asks me if it fits with my schedule, because I don't think you're allowed to bitch about where things are at if you're not willing to help. And for me, I've done a lot of really cool things, and if I can share and help people, I want to do that. And if this is an area that is within my wheelhouse and skill set to do, I want to do that. And I have a podcast. I know what it's like to ask for guests. I know what it's like to be told no. I know what it's like to say, oh, wow, you said yeah. Yep, I know those feelings. And so for me, I fell into fitness, and it wasn't only because in 2008 there were no jobs. And I fell into selling memberships at 24-hour fitness to pay the bills until I found my big kid job. And it got me into powerlifting, Olympic lifting, strong person competitions, and became a personal trainer, and moved me to Austin, Texas in 2014 to get out of fitness, to end up working at Onnit to become the very first member of the Onnit Gym, which is Joe Rogan's supplement company, to go from $30 to $90 million. And I'm traveling the world and training pro athletes and speaking. I was like, holy shit, right? It's crazy. So I'm so thankful for it that I want to make sure I always give back, right? Because my childhood dream job was to work in Major League Baseball, and now I do that, but in a way that I didn't even dream of as a 12-year-old. The way I thought of as a 12-year-old wasn't as cool as this version. So for me now, it's how do I share what I have to help people in whatever space they're in, whether you're a trainer or not. So that's why it's just doing this. Love doing it.
Well, I mean, I love how you just totally tossed into autopilot. I was like, man, I don't even have to ask him any questions. He's just got this under control. But
such a talker.
Well, it's not a bad thing, because we'll be able to vibe off each other. I'm plenty good at talking myself. Something that I want to dive a bit further into is, you talk about your resume. You've highlighted some things with what Onnit became. Tell my audience a bit more about Onnit, and then I want you to zoom in on perhaps some moments when you were like, should I be here? Or moments that just challenged you, tested you, and helped you see some of the potential skills that you bring out today as a self-employed individual.
That's a great question. Nice. I really enjoyed that. So Onnit is a supplement lifestyle company based in Austin, Texas, and most notably led by the likes of Joe Rogan, who has the biggest podcast on the planet, and also spearheaded very much by Aubrey Marcus, who has a podcast, and a lot of big internet personalities really started coming through. So Onnit really became built off of a supplement called Alpha Brain, which I'm actually drinking right now. And it's a nootropic. It's a cognitive enhancer, memory enhancer. And it, Joe launched it on the podcast, and it took off. And then the other supplement lines took off. And so I got there in 2014. They'd been up for 4 years, and I was employee 42. They're about a $30 million company. And I was there for 4 years, and we went from $30 to $90 million in that time. And so for me, I was pretty set on moving to Texas from Portland, Oregon to get out of fitness. I was dabbling into recruiting, which is like for software engineers, trying to get people to bounce from one company to the other, high commission, high turnover, tough 100 cold calls a day kind of thing. And I knew moving to Texas probably wasn't the move for me to where I was taking my career, but it got me out. It got me out of Portland. I was having a hard time getting away from my clients because I have the same clients for 4 or 5 years, right? They weren't, unless they moved, they weren't going anywhere, right? I still text my clients, still talk to my clients. Like Mimi is one of like my big sister, and like I flew out to her baby shower in 2018. I hadn't trained her since 2014, right? It's like I support that. I text people on their birthdays, and because you spend 3 days a week with someone for 4 years, like you're part of their life, right? Like some shit about what they got going on, and I very much cherish those relationships. And so, for me, it was really tough to get out, but I knew that being a trainer wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. Working at 24-hour fitness wasn't what I wanted to do with my life, and it just became a catalyst to move. And I honestly only chose Austin because I moved in November of 2014, and the other 3 places, Chicago, New York, and Boston, were going to be really cold in November, December, January. And I'm like, and I was already kind of partying too much, right? Because I wasn't happy. And so it was, you're going to move somewhere new where there's nothing to do but drink in a bar, right? Like, and so I moved to Texas and lived with my friends, Ashley and James, that had triplet 1-year-olds at the time. And I've flown with triplet 1-year-olds. So those of you who are the parents, I have a lot of empathy for flying with children and just children in general. Mom was also a youth minister, so I've been around a lot of kids. But, moving to Austin, I wasn't, Joe DeFranco was a popular coach, had just announced he was moving his gym to Austin to partner with On It when I was kind of announcing I was moving to Austin to go down there. And Joe's my favorite coach growing up. And I was like, how serendipitous is this? My favorite coach is going to, and that's the only reason why I walked in the doors On It. I had no idea what On It was. And it was so crazy to watch, going down there. I was the very first member, and I was pretty set on just being a member and working out to work out. And I wanted to get into sporting goods sales, like territory sporting goods sales for Rawlings, Louisville Slugger, going to baseball tournaments. And inevitably, I thought my life would be cool if I was golfing with, baseball players and talking about what they want with their gloves and bats and, being that guy. Like, how is that not the coolest job in the world for a young kid who does sports, right? And like, that's what the North Star was. But I was so fearful of getting stuck in sales roles that I didn't want to take direct routes, because that was my only in, right? Was, okay, you can be here, but you're going to be ticket sales. I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's not my gig, right? Even though I did the recruiting thing, which I find really odd I did that move. But it got me to Texas. But then, I had a couple offers, and they wanted me to move to Dallas, Corpus Christi, El Paso. And I'm like, bro, I just got to Austin. Nothing about Texas entertained me except for Austin, right? I'm not moving to Texas. I moved to Austin. Austin's Texas, but it's not Texas, right? Like, it's not 6-shooter on the hip, right? It's like, it's pretty close to Portland, where I was from, hipster central. And so it was, then I was talking to John Wolf, who was the head of fitness down there at On It. And I said, hey man, what would it look like if I came on board to work here? He goes, I don't know, pitch me something. I was like, all right. So I come back to him like, I was like, how about I travel the world? I'll drive in my car and go to all these gyms and sell kettlebells and maces. And he's like, no. I was like, okay, shit. And then it was like, the nice thing for me coming into being a trainer by the time as I did, is like, I understood business. I went to school for business and studying startups. And so I just understood the game, and I'm naturally that kind of mindset person. And so training, I was a 40-hour-a-week trainer within 4 months, right? It was like, this is easy. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I have a waiting list. I don't have to try. Right? If anything, I don't want to work all day, every day. I do. But it was also that in 2010, 11, 12, you either worked at 24, maybe you owned a gym, or you were in a college. CrossFit was just starting to get popular. So that wasn't really a scene. And I don't really have a dream of like owning a gym, right? Like, I love the human part of coaching and connecting with people, and I have an avenue to help them. But like, I didn't sign up in life to like teach people about broccoli, right? I love it. I do, but it found me in a really interesting spot. And so I was able to get On It into more of a biz dev, or into a business role. And so the only way I was able to come on board was there was a head spot filled to be basically John Wolf's assistant. And I got to be called the director of communications, but like the head slot that fit a company role would have been it. and I was making assistant level money, right? So, you know, the big thing, I say it now, is that like, hey, 3 to 4 years I worked on it, I made less than $50,000, right? And worked 40 weekends a year, you know? So it's like, we can think like, sure, it's cool, I got to do a lot of cool shit, but I also didn't have other options. I didn't have, you know, like that, what are you going to do? And for me, it was such a lean into my career moment that it was like, here's your chance, prove it, right? So for me coming in, like my pitch to John was like, hey, I'll help the people coming to the certifications. Let me help teach them how to like run a better coaching business. Like they need to raise their prices of their sessions. Stop charging $20. They need to like call their people. They need to learn how to sell, right? And he was like, okay. So then it was like, and I can help send out certs and organizationally run seminars. And like, I have nothing else to do. I have no money to go do anything else. So I might as well just be at the seminar and learn. And so then I attended Foundations, which was the only course we had at the time, for 18 months straight, 1 or 2 a month for 18 months, just as a helper. Hey, this person can't hear. Can you help that? Right? It wasn't a coach. And then just because like, as we were scaling and getting bigger, it's like, hey, you've been around obviously for 30 of them. Can you go help in DC? And that was my first chance to like travel to do it. And then there was an opportunity to where I needed, like, they needed someone from fitness to go to like an NSCA conference with the wholesale team. And it was like, oh, you put Sam in a big ass expo center room and just a loud ass voice to talk to people. He's really good at that. Right. And like, I don't mind putting on a show. So I'll swing maces and kettlebells and do all the things. And so it kind of carved out this really unique role that I could work on the fitness team and coordinate events. And I could also work with the wholesale team and go into events. And, you know, mind you, when I moved to Austin, Texas in 2014, I'd been a personal trainer for 4 years, in the fitness industry for 6 years. And I was at 24. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. I had a weekend certification, right? I didn't go to school for exercise science. I didn't, you know, and, you know, I started learning and picking stuff up. But because I'm in these rooms at NSCA, you meet people, right? And you don't try to not live in your lane. But then all of a sudden, like because Onnit was growing so fast, it was, oh, you want to come teach it? John Russell, you want to come teach a cert at Onnit? Hey, Mark Bell, you want to come teach a cert at Onnit? Hey, Mark, you know, and it was like, and because John and Shane, my 2 team members, have kids, it allowed me the opportunity, like, I can pick you up from the airport. I'll shuttle you around. I'll take, you know, and if I get to take all these courses for free because we're hosting them, and then on the flip side, all these experts in the industry are watching how good I am at running their event with them, right? Like, I'll help fill it. I'll do this. Oh, yeah, you need this? I'll get you, you know, and treat them like great, shuttle them around. And it becomes like, wow, man, you're great, right? Then it's like, and you do that for 4 years, right? Like, FRC, Andre Espino came through 4 times. John Russin's come through 4 times, Chris, you know, and you build these relationships with people to where it's very special for me to know that, you know, John Russin has a PPSC certification because of the podcast I did with Mike Fitch and of Animal Flow. And I'm like, that's so rad, right? And I've been to every single version that he's done. I've been to it over 5 times to watch it evolve. And it created this opportunity for me just to do what I do well. Like, sure, am I a coach? Yeah, for sure, I play in the space. But I was still just like, I'm running events. And I'm happen to be the person running kind of things it looks on the outside, I'm running kind of things a little bit. Plus, I was in communications, so every email that came through hello@Onnit or info@Onnit came through my email. Like, you want to talk about email? I've seen some emails, right? 300 emails a day. Come just, you know what I mean? That kind of like hello@Onnit, thinking like they're talking to Joe Rogan. It's crazy, but it's amazing. And here's what I want to talk about Onnit, because I know some people don't like it, whatever. The special sauce about Onnit is that everybody who is there is just trying to be better. From the warehouse to the front desk to the CEO, the culture of the people that work there is effing incredible. Everybody is you go to work to hang out with people. You go to work because you have a bunch of like-minded people who are just really genuine humans. You make great relationships and friendships. Like, that was hard to leave, honestly, moving to Boulder at True Coach, because the people in Austin, oh my God, it was so great to come down from, like, you know, I had a tough experience at True Coach here. And so going back to Austin for the first time and being welcomed back and embraced and loved, like, hey, coming through the office, hugs, and oh my God, it's so great. It's like, wow, right? Is powerful. And like, I have nothing but love for the communities. And I'll always talk highly of Onnit because it changed my life, right? You put me on a pedestal in amongst this fast-growing company to where, sure, I'm a nobody coming into the industry, and now all of a sudden I'm rubbing shoulders with the giants of the industry, And then all of a sudden, because I'm doing this enough times to where it's giving me opportunities to where, like I said, I'm a weekend cert trainer that got into this at 24-hour fitness. I just posted it like last year, this day, I taught a workshop at the NSCA headquarters to an immersion group from Taiwan with a translator, right? And I'm like, to PhDs, physical therapists, and master's degree students. And I'm like, I'm not, hey, if we want to play the who can name the most anatomy game, I don't win. But here's what I've brought. Here's what I've done, right? To show up into Boston to go shadow Eric Cressy for a day. And for him to say, hey, man, thanks for these clubs you sent me on it. Would you like to do the in-service today for the staff? Oh, my God, you're going to let me teach the Cressy performance stuff? Wow. Honoring. Such an honor, right? But also, I wasn't trying to teach on behalf of me. This is my theory. It's like, here's what I know. Here's what I've learned. But you start developing a reputation around, wow, you're around all these people. And it got really fun to where, because I was traveling so much, I was at every event, to where I'd get tagged in an event like, oh, where was I? I was in DC with John Russ, and we were working out, and he tagged me in a post. And then I was in LA with a bunch of other people, and they tagged me, and someone's like, who followed both people. They're like, wait, weren't you? I was like, yeah, man, I love the Warriors Waldo game because it was so fun, right? And the world of being on it, where we were just growing at that level of everybody wanted to be a part of it, right? And then to bring in partnerships with my girl Sayla, who's my partner, Exos, Equinox, Gold's Gym, UCLA, right? And then later getting, just through happenstance and relationships and meeting people, getting to meet John Baker, who's the mental skills coordinator now for the Chicago Cubs, who him and I are now starting an app, to him introducing me to Jake Arrieta, Cy Young Award-winning World Series champion baseball player, who now I coach. Like, we work together in the offseason. He's one of my best friends, deeply, like, we have a great friendship. And it's like, wow, holy crap. So amazing. And to think about, for me, you know, I didn't share this earlier, but when I went from membership sales, membership sales to, I tried to get out. I got my first big kid job at an action sports company, and I got fired 2 months in for not being bro enough. And I'd come back to the 24-hour fitness I used to work at, and Rusty Sandusky, who was my manager at the time, he looked at me, he's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I got fired. He's like, oh, I'll pay for your first cert to come back and become a trainer. I was like, you okay? Right? Here we go. In fitness. Moved to Austin. No baseball, right? Back into fitness. Damn, right? And then it was like, oh, because of that, now baseball opened up. And I was leaving spring training with Jake, Philly's organization. And, I walking in the field with him and like, damn, play sack, Hall of Fame pitcher walking. Hey, Sam, great to see you again. I'm like, oh my God, you remember my name? It's cool. And then, and to watch the interactions, and then to be leaving the field, I turned around and I looked at everybody's day one of spring training, pitchers and catchers reporting, and photographers, social media, everybody's out. And I looked at it, I was like, you know what? That'd be cool. It'd be so cool to be one of those people. It'd be so cool to be one of those people, like your job. I'm leaving with him. We're going to go ride jet skis and deep sea fishing. 10 times cooler than that. Only because of this random happenstance of fitness, right? And it just became this magical process. So yeah, it was this really cool moment. But I said, I moved to Austin in November, and John and I said I would come on board to work on it in February, verbally. I didn't come on board to work till May, and I had no money. Didn't really have a lot of money saved up to like come down to Austin, just kind of like wung it. Is that a word? Wung it? Yeah. And like was making house cleaner out of like rubbing alcohol, lemon juice, and peroxide, cooking really, cheap, like trying to live cheap. And I had nowhere else to go. I had no social circle. Like On It was my only social circle. Like I had just enough to like have a gym membership, eat cheap, food, and work, and it was like 4 months. My parents would come down in the middle of that, and I was like just angry and upset. Cause I'm like, fuck, man, I just leapt, right? I've always, back home in my hometown, Kelso, like I was always very well known in the community, right? My parents to this day are still known as Sam's mom and dad. They're like, we have names, right? But like, hey, we have Sam's mom and dad at the grocery store, right? They're like, oh, right? And college, I ran events, so I knew everybody, right? And then in the 24 I worked at was in the bougie area of town, so I knew chefs and bartenders, so I could walk into a bar, And so then moving to Austin, where I'm like thrive on like knowing people and being set up, is like, that got taken away from me. I don't know anybody. I've got no money. I can't go out. I got nothing. This job may or may not really work. And then it came on board. It's like, oof, man, And then, you got to eat it a little bit. Oh, I'm not going to make any real money. Okay, I'll keep making note. And for me, I'll share that, coming out of school, I failed out of college my sophomore year and had to fight to get back in. And I graduated on time and did the thing. And while I wasn't a fantastic student, I had a lot of extracurriculars. But I just didn't have a clear path out of school. And so fitness was a graceful thing to fall into. But for me, it was constantly trying to figure out how to be good at the thing just enough. And so getting through school and coming into this fitness space, it wasn't planned. And it was so, let's just see what happens. That works for a while. Let's just say yes to that for a while. And it became so powerful, honestly, for me. And I know everybody wants to come out of this age of high school, like, what am I supposed to do with the rest of my life? Or what am I supposed to do forever? This thing, that's forever. And it's like, it's not, man. It's not, right? Like, it's such a great journey. I'm so thankful fitness was a journey. I was on a very different path in 2008. I was really good at drinking beer. Right. And so now it's like such a gift to have happen and to watch it unfold because of just circumstance, 2008 and a recession, right, is super neat. And I'm just very grateful for the whole process to have happened. Even moving to Boulder and having the experience and going through and switching gears from a business development role to a marketing role and going through a software app and acquisition process. And then, getting let go. Like, oh shit. Okay. Right here. Right. But it's like, it's all for part of the ride. I love it. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. There's days it really sucks, but it makes it worth it when you get to do cool shit and you get to share with people and know that you're helping someone else.
Well, it's so true. And I mean, like, you covered everything in that, like, story that you shared, which I love. But now I have to, like, zoom in a bit more. So you brought up the terms of, like, pitching something. Like, you've had to pitch many times in your career. And connection is something that has obviously helped you, like, finding that connection, seeking that connection, like, noticing, like, the passion in a company culture. If we're going to take this to two parts. First, we'll talk about the pitching. If there was 3 pitches that you've had to deliver over the course of, like, last 5 years, what are 3 that stand out to you and what makes them stand out?
Wow. Great question. You're good. I like this. The On It one was one, obviously I talked about with John, and just like, hey, pitch me a job. One that really stands out to me, I was in San Francisco and it was at the NorCal Fitness Summit. And it was one of the not first events. It was one of the early events for me. And this event wasn't the best event, but it had some great names. I had Perry Nicholson, Mark Fisher, and Dr. John Besson. And familiar with Mark Fisher Fitness to an extent, but also just very impressed with who his character was. And I just walked up to him and said, hey, Mark, I'd love to take you to dinner while you're here in town. And he says, okay. I was like, wow. Okay. Right. Once again, On It. Right. I know it's because of On It. Right. Who's not going to say yes to that? And we sit down and he says, so what's your angle? And I was like, wow. Right. It was just like coming at it. Right. Like and I like when people kind of come at the game and I want to play the game. And I said, look, Mark Fisher Fitness is awesome. I think what you're doing is great. If Mark Fisher Fitness wants to bring in a wholesale account of On It Protein or Alpha Brain, right, it's a $250 minimum to have a wholesale account. We'll do it. I'll help you. That's great, right? But that's not my win. I'm a big Mark Fisher fan. I want you to know that me at On It with resources wants to support you in whatever you do. Let me know how. I just want to be a part of it, right? And he was like, okay. And it was like Mark and Mark is, I can't say enough great things about Mark Fisher. Dear friend, mentor, just a beautiful human being, embodies a lot of characteristics as a human that I would like to be more of, knowing that like I'm not going to be that him because we don't have the same experiences, but I'm just incredibly impressed with who he is as a human and grateful for all whether it's directly or indirectly, what I've learned from him and watching how he operates. I really much appreciate that he can be someone who can go out and live a really fun, enjoyable life, but also like run a really successful business, but also can be really great at connecting with people. And he's well read, which he was like a person who stimulated me to be a reader. And it was just someone that was a moment to get to know him there in that moment and to impress him in that setting, and then to later even be asked to speak at one of his events. And it was just, I'm so happy I came at it from the direction of just being super direct, right? To recognize out of the gate, like, I knew people gave me time out of the beginning because I was on it, right? Like, they don't know if I'm not the access to Joe Rogan or not. They don't. You don't know if I can put you on the podcast, right? So if I know that people already might have an edge of looking at it from, okay, it's a resource. He's a resource. He's trying to woo me, right? That's cool. I like to be wooed. That the game isn't to woo you with the company. The company people already know what On It is. They'll ask me more detailed questions about what I think of it, what's going on past the field level. But at the end of the day, no one wants to do business with someone they don't like. So they're buying me. And they're buying the relationship that I have with them, right? They want to keep coming back to On It every year for an event because, like, oh my God, like, why would I not want to run it with Sam? Like, he does a great job. Or I just like going down there. Like, why would you not want to? I mean, Austin's an easy sell too, right? Like, but if you run a crappy event, are they going to want to do it? If you're a bad guest or host on a podcast, are they going to want to do it? Right? So I look at things in the way that, sure, you can ask for favors, but you can only ask for so many favors before you burn that relationship.
So true.
Right? And it's fine. It's okay to ask for a favor, but I want to make sure that by the time I ask you for a favor, undoubtedly it's a yes, because I've already put into that bucket so much. You need help with that event? I got you. You need sample? I'll send you samples. Oh, you want to give away a kettlebell? I'll give away a kettlebell. Right? Oh, I paid for the event to come out. I flew out. I put myself up. Or On It did. Right? I'm very thankful for On It giving me the freedom to do business development in the way I do it, through handshakes and smiles. Right? Shout out to Jason Havey, CEO of On It. We had a meeting, and Exos had just come into the partnership with On It, and we had a conversation. He was just like, man, in the day of clicks and views, you're about handshakes and smiles, and it works. And I just want you to go be you. And I was like, wow, man, it's so powerful to have someone believe in you, right? John believed in me, which is really great. And I'm so forever grateful of John Wolfe and Shane Hines there. But like, and so Jason having that conversation was like, wow. And so then to go out running around, like talking to big companies and just letting it happen was a really cool experience. And one that very few people get, right? To run around on behalf of On It with a company credit card and just like, I'm going to be in LA. Hey, what's LA now? Right? Like, so cool. The dream job.
Yeah.
Didn't make any money. But you know what I mean? So I would get people who are like, man, I'm so jealous of what you get to do. It's like, well, okay, I get it. But you make way more money than me, one. Two, well, you like to have downtime. You like to do this. Cool. I haven't been home in a month. Right? So, and I brought that upon myself for sure. But for me, I looked at things like I'm a weekend trainer that got put in the front of the room, speaking at some of these big spots, whether it's on behalf of me or on behalf of On It, whatever. So for me, it was, okay, he's in the front of the room now because of this like Instagram-y social media platform world. I wanted visually everybody to understand that he earns it, right? Yeah. So for me about checking in on flights on social media around flight number 64, it's not, I don't need you to think it's cool I fly around, but it's for like, dude, this dude works, right? He crushes, right? To get on stage at the IFAST Summit with Mike Robertson and Bill Hartman and Mike, dude, what flight number is this? Number 900. This guy crushes. If you're not following, it's like, that's honoring. Mike works really hard. I really much appreciate what Mike and Bill have done for the industry. So it's very honoring to have his endorsement, right? Because I came into it out of the gate. I didn't come into it from interning with him. I didn't play the strength coach game. I didn't play these games. So the only way I can earn it is to make sure I do it in front of you, right? And so the pitch and just being able to pitch, it was a nice, really early win there. And I think, the other pitch I think for me was really big, I would have to say, is Exos. Being able to help On It and Exos come together was one that definitely changed my career, because if that didn't happen, no way do I get the freedom to travel like I did, right? Because Exos is massive, and the potential what that has is like, wow, that's huge distribution, corporate wellness, technology, marketing, and to think like, yeah, okay, and to go from a couple meetings to standing, like I'm a director level, quote unquote, and to be standing in Exos with senior vice presidents, and then presidents. I'm like, wow. Right. So being able to pitch what we could do together in that moment, with Amanda Carlson and Dave Schifrin and Selah, and it was to put the pieces together. And it was really cool for me to be able to step into a role to where I was able to talk to an executive that's not way above my level pay grade and have a conversation that I felt pushed the conversation into, okay, let's do this. Because I knew enough about, sure, I was a meatheady trainer that lifts weights and talks about kettlebells, but I can also step into like consumers, habits, behaviors, company, organizational flow, and have this like, here's where I think it all works together, right? Like, and I feel very grateful that Onnit gave me the space to talk on behalf of them up until C-levels, right? To where when I brought it back, it was going straight to C-level execs. And then it was like, okay, here we go, right? I didn't have other layers other than that. And it was who I directly reported to get those. So that was one that was like definitely stroked the confidence to be able to get that going because they're huge, right?
Yeah.
And that's what inevitably opened the doors up for everything else to then go all the places, do all the things. And for me, starting my podcast was like, oh yeah, just because I'm on a plane, I'm in front of everyone, why not now do a podcast with them in their gym, in their spot? Like, this is cool. Let's see what happens with this.
Absolutely.
Right? And it, taking advantage of what was in front of me was just the only play, right? But I look at life as chapters, and coming out of college and obviously failing out of college and having to take a job in 24-hour fitness selling memberships when you're overqualified, college degree, yada yada, was like, okay, welcome to the world, young buck, right? And then it was like, okay, find a floaty, right? And that was fitness. Fitness gave me a floaty, like, okay, let me just find equilibrium. I'm making money, I can pay my own bills, doing the thing, I'm off mom and dad's play, right? And then that's not good enough for me. Let's try again. Let's go. Let's move. Right. And then to do it again and fitness be this stakehold once again to come back became such a cool thing. And to look at, okay, it's never about, is that the thing I'm supposed to do? Or is that the diet I'm supposed to do? Or is that the program I'm supposed to do? Or is that anything you're going through in life, that it's just say yes to the thing that aligns with you today, and just run with it until the next thing, right? There's no failure from that experience, right? We were sitting in a meeting, once again, John Wolf, shout out, with freaking Amanda Carlson and Mark Verstegen and John, and we're in this meeting talking about Onnit Exos, and he's just like, John just goes, perspective only comes at a cost of time, energy, money, or pain. And I was like, bro, what a great comment. Like, that is so freaking true. And if you guys don't know John Wolf and his story, please go check him out. He got into fitness purely because he used it to pull himself out of the gutter from meth addiction. And that's going to like fitness certifications to become a better version of himself, opening a gym, then becoming the chief fitness officer of Onnit, right? Like, it was so cool. It's such a powerful journey. And to look at how some of these experiences we go through can shape us.
Yeah.
And that's why for me, I get so caught up in Onnit, and why it's so cool for me is because of that, right? Whether you like the supplements or not, the experience for me became life-changing.
Well, I mean, your passion.
Did I hit both questions?
You did. We're good. We're on track. So like your passion, your perspective, that is powerful. It kind of like equips you to make the most of the cards that you're dealt with, because like a lot of people are going to relate to like the differences in certification. Like I have a couple weekend certifications. Like I totally get it. I get it, what it's like to struggle and create your homemade cleaners and like live lean with your food prep, everything like that. I've noticed, and especially just with your backdrop, you have like a blackboard with your list, and I've seen how you do like the stickies and you write down lists. Now it must be pretty challenging, like where you talked about how you had to hold yourself accountable, and like obviously we're not always going to just be on fire every day. Take me through what it's like to create those lists, knowing that you're in control. Like what goes on the list? What's the thought process? What's the outcome after something's on that list? And maybe give some more context onto what's behind you, like in the frame here.
Yeah. So once again, Onnit really pushed me into the world of the personal development journey and reading things about bettering yourself. Not something that's heavily encouraged in the masculine world. And definitely if you don't start getting into that woo-woo, like Dear Judy Bloom kind of thing, like kind of, and you mentioned earlier, you're cautious around it. I'm kind of woo-woo, and I'm like, I'm into all of it. And once again, Mark Fisher pushed, like, he motivated, because I'm like, wow, you read 4 books a week or 4 books a month, whatever it was. It was like, holy shit, like, and you do this and you do that. And I'm like, I can do something, right? And so I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and really just took away from this idea that leaning into the things that you care about the most, right? Knowing that you gotta have to work at the things you're not good at, and you get to choose, right? There's some things you're gonna have to pony up and figure out, and then some things you're gonna be able to slough off till later. And for me, it was a little bit of a competition thing to see if I could just get my numbers up. But it was audiobooks. I didn't like to sit and read. It was just putting information in. And I hear the people saying, well, I don't like audiobooks, I don't listen to them. I'm like, I was the same way. I only like them when I drive, mostly, and I walk now. But it was just enough. And I had a 4-mile commute. It was tiny. And I did like 22 books in a year by listening to audiobooks. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to listen to something, might as well listen to something positive and uplifting, right? Might as well put good shit in, right? Instead of something else. And you start hearing the way you start talking differently. You start hearing, like, when you start putting that stuff in, your answers are different. You're like, wow, right? Because I'm naturally a little bit more of a, like, buck the fuck up, buttercup attitude. And just, not that I've had a super hard life by any means. My hard life, so I was born in Korea, 3 months premature. I was abandoned on the street, lived in an orphanage my first 8 months, and adopted by an amazing family in Washington State. 2 Caucasian parents in a highly predominant low blue collar town that's predominantly Caucasian. So for me, I came into it with, like, having a lot of these already experiences of challenge coming in, but it was just about starting to put good information in my head through reading, and just going through that process and letting myself grow, even though I didn't know I was, like, even consciously growing. I wasn't trying to be the, like, I'm woke, right? But I also was like, there's something to this, right? And, like, people I care about are reading it, and so I just started, like, pushing audiobooks, and, like, I bought most of these books I just have as a display, and I'll read them too because I still predominantly love audio. And it was just the journey of, like, my own development and becoming more complete as a human, going forward. And the thing behind me here is a friend of mine, Krista, just someone that really is just a great friend. And she has a thing that she inspired me to do this, of 100 things you want to do before you die. Right? Like, we're always saying, I want to do this someday. I want to do that someday. And I used to do this in Portland when I lived there. And I had a big board on my chalkboard paint and piece of plywood that just Portland had such a restaurant scene coming in that they were coming up so fast you just couldn't keep up with them. But you notice, like, when you go out to eat, like, on Friday, you're tired, like, and you just end up eating at the same spot. You're like, it's convenient, you like it, and you're like, no, mother effer, if you're gonna go out to eat, like, go somewhere you, like, new. And so it just allowed me to keep track of, like, okay, because when you see it, right? And so James Clear has a great thing in Atomic Habits about making it easy. So if I'm looking at a board all the time around, like, shit I want to do with my life, well, it's going to be a little more prevalent, and, like, it's going to guide my values a little bit more. And it's going to be something that directs, even subconsciously, who I'm trying to become or what I'm trying to become in that next phase. So for me, kind of this process of becoming more organized is only because I'm not an organized person by nature. I am a thinker. I'm a, like, big picture. I keep track of a lot of shit in my head. And for me to really take the next step of productivity was, you got to go get the other one, right? And I looked at it, Mike Robertson and I did a podcast together, and I was just like, bro, like, mad respect to the amount of content you've consistently put out over the years, and just you as a dude. And I was like, but, like, you got 2 kids, you got a wife that you care about, a family, a gym, interns, and just looking at it from oh man, he has to get it done because he doesn't have time. I have all the time. So I need to learn how to get really good with my time now as a 34-year-old single guy, that when I do have kids or have a partner, that I'm prepared to give to that relationship, because I feel why I have this level of confidence as a human and why I have this go-getter attitude is because, well, growing up, my parents, their mission in life was to be parents, right? So their goals was to chase baseball games and tournaments and shit like that, right? Which I'm so thankful for. But also in the idea of like, oh, when a kid has an idea, it's met with like, sure, try it, right? Instead of like, that's a dumb idea, you can't have a career out of that. And as you get older in your 30s, like you realize like, oh, that's why you don't have a good relationship with trying new things, because no one's ever encouraged you, right? Whereas like, my dad taught me physics through, oh, you want to see how high you can jump your bike? You're going to learn physics. You know what I mean? Like, not in a dangerous way, but like, yeah, you can only stack the plywood on top of the board so high before the plywood gives out. Like, I'm not going to get really hurt, but also like, I'm a kid that grew up in the middle of the woods by myself. Like, you can't control it, right? Like, I fell out of trees all the time. So you learn those lessons. But to see that going forward as an adult is so powerful for me that other people just don't have that. I was recently at an event and someone said, I don't like to try new things because I'm afraid of failing. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? And I was very taken aback by it. And people were kind of shocked. I wasn't trying to be rude about it, but I didn't realize that people had that thing that stopped them. They were so worried about tomorrow, today, that they wouldn't even try. And I go into so many, like, I love the starting of new things. I really do. Like, I don't know anybody in the room. Let's go, right? Like, I thrive. I love it. And because that's what I did as a kid, right? That got rewarded as a kid. Like, oh, you did so good, right? Like, you had to be a young man in this environment, right? Like, oh, you did good. And so if that gets celebrated, and being polished is what you grow up learning how to be polished. And kids, like, people didn't do that earlier. And so I'm like, wait, you know why I have that is because I'm not good at anything first try, right? Like, but like, tell you what, I would rather take the punches in round one and see how hard something is before I really jump into it than have to jump into it at round 12 and them punches hurt, right? And so, because inevitably the dichotomy of life is there's the things we're good at, the things we're not good at. And yeah, we can lean on the things we're really good at, but eventually we got to dip our toe in some things we don't know how to do or confront or deal with. And how you deal with those things is what develops your character. And for us, it turns into, I was just looking at it from okay, how do I make myself more effective? And I can't take everybody else's time management strategies because they make me feel boxed in. They make me feel like, I want to Hulk smash that shit. Because it's like, don't tell me what to do. I do what I want. I'm good at it. I've been good at it for a long, long time, right? And it was something to where it's like, no, getting over my ego. And I took a day and I call it planning time to plan. And I took every notebook, every Google Note, every Apple Note, everything I've ever jotted, a cocktail napkin, an idea I had out. And I sat down with a big old pot of coffee and I just mapped out every idea I'd ever had in my life about things, whatever. I'm a big idea person. I love it. And just post-it note because they're sticky. Put it on the wall, put it on the wall, put it on the wall. And as I'm like, okay, I got a whole thing on a cookbook because I want to do a cookbook, right? Write a cookbook. And then it's like, oh, I pull up a note. I found a notebook I hadn't been looking at yet, the new notebook. Oh, cookbook idea. Oh, I've already written it down. Oh, wow, I've written that down 3 times. Okay, that's something to kind of come back to, right? But to then know creatively, like, oh, I took care of it. It's there. I can see it. I processed it. I'm not going to lose it. Because how many times have we been sitting somewhere that's like, what a great idea. I will remember that forever. 2 seconds later, oh, the dog. Oh, yeah. Shit, what was that idea? Damn it. It wasn't that good. And so that's what I think the power of like coming back to something was like, wow, you come back to that a lot. I'm such a visual learner. I'm such a visual person that to have him all around my house, it also gives me the process of, as an idea person, I get really caught up in being an idea person, not an executor, right? I'm really good at ideas and building. I'm not good at like, oh, do the little thing. I don't want to do the little thing. That's below me. But I don't love the execution project management. Go send this email out to the people doing your webinar. I'm like, why? I don't want to send an email out to the newsletter webinar people. Just let me do the fucking webinar, right? Like, and it's like, that's the part that's hard for me to do. I know people are like, really? Why? Like, they're going 90 minutes on camera by yourself without a script? Yeah, okay, right? Like, Like I did a podcast with Jim Kroll and he's like, you ready? He goes, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I don't know why I asked you that. You're the only person in the world I can call last minute to do a podcast and not ask if they're ready.
That's
right?
awesome.
I was like, oh, wait, people need prep time to be on camera? Oh yeah. Right. I'm like, that's just not me. Because I mean, I know my stories. I talk about it all the time. I know how to adapt it based on where you're going. And so for me, like, it was just such a powerful process to like, it allowed me to process my head without feeling like I'm doing it someone else's way. And the way I look at it, for those of you who like Harry Potter, look at it as like the pensieve, where Dumbledore takes Harry over to the freaking bucket and pulls the thought out of his head and puts it in the bucket and shoves Harry's head in the water and like, look at the thought, right? And it's like, that's what that is for me. It allows me to pull the thought out of my head, visually look at it, because I draw pictures a lot. They're not good pictures, but they're pictures. And they're like, because like I don't need words. I might write a couple sentences out, but it's like, okay, video to this, to that, here's a blah, 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 right? It's like, I understand it. But it allowed me to feel so much more in line, so much more organized with what I'm trying to do. And it's allowed me to project manage myself a little bit better to where, oh yeah, that's what I need to work on. That's what I need to work on, right? Because it's so easy for me to wake up so excited about something. I just start jamming. I'm like, bro, that's not what you need to work on, right? So I'm going to use this example. If you were going to rebuild your house, would you tear apart your bedroom, your bathroom, and your kitchen all at the same time? No. Because you'd have nowhere to eat, nowhere to sleep, nowhere to poop, right? So you tear one, like, all right, we're going to tear the bathroom out. We can get a porta potty or use a neighbor's house, or we have a second bathroom, or all right, I can take the kitchen out. We need takeout for a couple weeks, right? So we can make the constellations. But if you don't have any, you're like just this place everywhere, right? So when we're looking at it from a project management standpoint, I also know that that's my least effective skill set as a human. But I have to do it. Like if I'm going to choose a solopreneur life, I have to at least find a system that works for me until I make enough money to pay a personal assistant, right? That's what I'm signing up for. And so it turns into, okay, that's just the way I know how to project manage for myself, right? I'm trying to get into the Trello thing and coming back to it, or like an Excel sheet, like, but like my brain won't stick to it. Like, you know what I mean? Even like I want to, so for me, rather than keeping fighting and feeling like now I'm not finding a solution, it was just, sure, that's a solution, right? Is that what you can work on, right? And then like when I'm starting to feel crowded in my head, I also notice all my boards are kind of messed up. So I take them all down and redo them. So on the floor underneath my trash can, I take a while to throw them away just in case I want to come back to it. But I have all my notes and I just leave them there and it's like, okay. And I'll consolidate them. Okay, I'm like, here's what I'm working with now. Because likely all those thoughts, like that whole thought process on that board wasn't an ebook. It wasn't a post. It was a sentence in a post, right? It was like, oh, okay, that was a cool thing to think about. Cool, moving on. And going through this new adventure of trying to figure out how to, make my ass sit down and do shit sometimes when I don't want to do it. And also for me, coming back to the sales thing that I talked about, I don't want to be a sales, like I got scared of being trapped in the sales guy, is that looking at content, I'm pretty enthusiastic on camera. Like it's so interesting. Like I've never really noticed that that's a differentiating factor. I mean, obviously more people on video now, but people are like, oh my God, you're so entertaining on camera. I'm like, why? Right. And then like, as I'm like learning about it, Michael Port's Steal the Show is a great book on public speaking. And it like talks about, oh yeah, undulating your voice to affect emotion, using your hands to talk. And I'm like, oh, this isn't fake. This is just how I talk the time. And I'm just me all the time, that I'm like not concerned with like being, that it's like, but then learning, I'm like, oh, that's what other people who aren't good at this are doing. So I don't thrive on having a YouTube channel because I had to prove I can be on camera. It's like, I know I can do it. I can do it really well. For me, it turns into like, okay, I'm going to start another podcast and start another show that's not only fitness. But for me, I have to have a hook. I have to have I need to have something I really want to jump into. It's not about just doing the show. It's like, okay, here's what I'm going after, right? And then it turns into, okay, I'll do it now. But we're all in it for different journeys, right? Some people like getting on camera, being camera shy, speaking in public, right? And so I know that my personality can also be a lot for people. And so it's also a way of me tethering it sometimes to get people into like, hey, I'm not this person all the time. Like if you see me on the street, I'm like, right? Like I'm not that person. But it can be like, I like to do it. I want to be that person. And so it's about also giving myself and figuring out the boundaries of, you know what, like I have to make sure that whatever character I choose to put out online is the person I want to be every day. It's because that's what's authentic to me, right? I can't put on, and some people have to put on a fake character, right? But for me, I can't. It has to be the person I wake up every day and do, right? I can't do the, hey guys, took a huge poop this morning because I ate 47 grams of fiber last night for dinner. You should eat fiber, right? Like if I did that, like people who follow, like I would hope you go, oh my God, he's being a douche and making fun of those people, right? But like, and I get some people like that style of content. Some people enjoy it. That's how clearly people like it. It's just so not me. And so right now it's also been a lot about me figuring out how do I want to show up in this space? What style of content do I want to deliver that matches my personality, that allows me to be authentically me? Because I think that is part of myself, is part of like, shit, this mother effer is like really into it, right? Because, and I've recently been asking people, you know, a couple of my partners and people I've really spent a lot of time with, what do I think, what they thought made me effective in what we did. And the thing that's honestly come back a couple times with people has been, yeah, but when you talk to someone, you make them feel like you care about what they have to say. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Because I also, if I'm going to sit and talk, if I want to spend time, it's going to be either we're going to have something we can keep going with or we don't. Right. And either I want to learn that on the front end. Right. Like I'm usually, if I'm in a big room or something, I might throw a kind of a weird offset joke out because I want to see how people react. I'm like, man, if you can't laugh at a dorky joke like that, like if I have to cover myself from saying an F-bomb all the time, like we ain't going to hang out all the time. Right. That's too much work for me. Right. So it's about me gauging it. But for me, it's about how quick can we connect and move forward. So yeah, even online, I want to make sure I continually show up super authentic because I think that's something that people gravitate towards me with. And so part of this is me figuring out my thought process and even creatively deciding what my time looks like, because I left the Commission for Your Life world in 2014 from 24-hour fitness and, you know, being in my own facility or being at Industrial Strength in Portland to moving to Austin. I was a salary employee, right? So no longer getting bonuses for work. I mean, like that was the tough part about even going on it in the beginning was like, oh man, I don't even get work bonuses per performance. Like, okay, right? Like it is what it is. That was tough. And so then now it's like, oh yeah, if I want to wake up today and go for a walk, read a book, be in a podcast, that's me. I can do that today. I have to accept I didn't get that done. I have to accept if I don't make money. I have to accept this other thing didn't get done. And the inevitable world of that self-discipline balance really has to come into play between, yep, there's a creative process to being an entrepreneur and a sit the fuck down, shut up, do the thing, right? Just like get up, you know, like I don't want to edit this episode, right? And just doing it. And so there is that. And so for me, I battle that too because I've been working for someone else. And for me, I don't come from a history of being a task-oriented worker. Right? I come from training people. All I got to do is meet people. Shit, I could pull someone out of a basketball game. Hey, I'm at the bar. Cool. You're going to come train with me tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.? Yep. Okay, cool. Right, that was me. Biz dev world of on it. Like all I'm doing is shaking hand and kissing babies. Right? Kind of thing. And I have Sayla with me who's great at the follow-up and doing all the organizational, getting events set up. Like, oh my God. Right? And she balanced me out. But there's things I do that she doesn't do well. And there's things that she does well that I don't do well. And I'm such a teams person. I'm such a I know undoubtedly what I do well, and I know undoubtedly what I don't do well. I got told one time that my ego was really big, and it triggered me hard. And I'm so thankful I've been going on this personal development journey because I was able to they're not in a good spot. Let it be. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Right? Like it was because the old me would have been like, you want to play fire? You want to come at me? Let's go. Right? Like you have this attitude because you feel whatever. Right. And so it was such a unique time to have to go through that because I'm like, no, I know I'm good here, but I know I'm so not good there. I'm not even trying to fake it. I'm not even trying to pretend to be a graphic designer. Like what? No. Right. Because the skills I would need to even be good is so that person can do it in their sleep better than I can do it with at the best level I even care to do it. So for me, with the networking, it's part of my strategy with networking is always, shit, that's not what I do. Go to them. Oh yeah. And not only are they them, but like the best person, right? Like, and I think that's really powerful because sometimes you aren't the solution provider for everything. So if you can't provide value to someone, well, how can you provide value to them? By introducing them to someone that can provide value, right? Remember a strength coach at MLB team was like, oh man, do you know a therapist in LA? I need, it's like, yeah, man, here you go. I'm like, here's Dr. Mark Chang. He's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, man, well, if I want to connect you with someone, I'll connect you with someone good, right? Like he was like, bro, I was like, sorry, right? Like that's what, because I wanted like my network, and I've had people approach me like, hey, can you just shout this out to your people? I'm like, no, man, that's not how this works. This only works because this person is thought outfully more going to be a valuable person for you. It's not because he's a graphic designer and you need graphic design work. It's because I think your personalities are going to match. I think your skills, I think everything out, right? Like, because I'm good with assessing people. So now it's like, for me, it's how do I string this all together? Because right now I have to be a one-man show and I can't just go do the part I naturally want to gravitate towards. So I'm fighting myself consistently doing the things I'm not good at. Even one thing I found with productivity has been really valuable for me is even not trying to hammer it home, not trying to be, and I forget the name of the method this is called, but this is a 25-minute timer. And sit down, do the thing for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break and walk away. Or giving yourself permission to not keep hammering on the thing. When I don't feel like, oh my gosh, like you're jamming on a blog post and then like your brain stops. And instead of beating like a dead horse for a minute, trying to get one more sentence out and like frying yourself, get up, go for a walk. And just like in training, if you're in fitness, changing activities is a form of rest. If I switch you from lower body to upper body, I don't need to worry about that same resting. And so it's like, oh, okay, I can either switch from articles, content, context, right? And so the downfall for me is I get too idea happy, and like that changing gears is like, I'll just work on this project. So I'm like, oh, I have this, and like, and so I get too many things going at once. So I'm working really hard right now of like just making sure I get the Be Less Unfit program done, which is going to be my 12-week single purchase fitness program. That's teaching you how to like not go into fitness with, I'm trying to be paleo and like be perfect. It's like, hey, today your goal is to drink an extra glass of water. Tomorrow your goal is to eat an extra vegetable. Hey, there's a couple of days of workouts. And teaching you how to work out, teaching people how to look at workouts like a trainer would, where I train people on the fly that it's like, oh yeah, I don't have time to like, they're not here for me to do an FMS on them and do all the thing. They're on it to have a dope ass on it experience. But like got a coach with integrity. I need to know what's working for them. So I need to be able to move them in a way that keeps them safe, so I can do it on the fly. Like, oh yeah, we're not going to do overhead pressing because your overhead mobility sucks, but I can put you on a half kneeling position with half kneeling landmine, and you're going to feel like you're putting effort in, right? And like, oh man, that was so, and you're like, great, right? But to be able to do that on the fly takes, oh yeah, not everybody does that. My podcast editor, Ryan Giles, who does Aubrey's and JP Sears, and he looked at me, and I was staying at his house this year in Austin. And he goes to the gym at night with his brother to go work out when their kids go to sleep. And he looked at me and he says, bro, how do you know what to do when you walk in the gym? And Ryan, I mean, you think about it, he's in every single Aubrey Marcus and Audit podcast for the last 3 years. Listen, he's heard some stuff about fitness. And it was like, oh, how can I in 5 minutes give you enough information to go to Planet Fitness and get great workouts? Right. And so it was like, okay, how do I teach people how to improve their fitness? Right. So that way, okay, I like to work out, but I'm not trying to be the next men's health cover, women's health cover, but I'm also not trying to like not know what I'm doing. Right. And I get bored over here. So, finally putting something out on behalf of me, it wasn't sure if I was trying to do it. If I wanted to do the fitness thing full core, hardcore, like I'm not trying to run challenges and things like that. But it was also, hey man, like you have something to share. You have information to share. You can't sit here and over here say, I should be respected for all the things you've gone out and done, right? I have all this knowledge. I teach coaches. I take workshops and then not share it. And so it's like, okay, I need to have something, but I want to do something that works for me, that is in line with me, right? And so getting that done. And that's even like the webinar is like, I don't know if I want to do fitness business coaching, but let me put something out because I do really like, I do want to, I'm going to be taking on some consulting contracts with some different companies. Just because I like playing in the big business space and having that. And there's, shit, give me a piece of Peloton, right? Like, give me a piece of that coming in, whatever new thing is coming out. And like, if I want to play there. And so for me, it becomes, how do I how do I make my time finally for me? And so the journey I'm in now is you've been pressing the career pedal down really, really hard, traveling and doing the thing to where I'm not saying the world of entrepreneurship is less of a gas pedal, but how can I make it so that way I can not trade time for dollars and have something up and running? So the goal is to get something up and running. And that way, and everything else I choose to pursue is purely out of choice. And I can get myself to a point where I can get in a rhythm, and I'm still working on this, I'm not there yet, to where I would like to be someone that gets up at like 5 and is done by 3. And like, cool, let's go to happy hour. Let's go to this. Let's go hang out. Let's go on a hike. Because I'm very much, I'm not where I want to be. Put my head down and work. You want to sit and bitch about where you're not going to be? Well, stop effing off and going on vacations. Put your head down and work. Right? That's very much me. And I have to get better about setting boundaries with it because it affects my sleep and stress levels and everything else. So you can't fight it all, and you just kind of have to find a solution. I know it's a really long answer to your question. How to figure out how your own brain works and be successful, right? But we have to acknowledge, like, here's where I'm not good at. I am not good at project management, right? I dream of the day of being able to hire someone that's like, yeah, I have no desire to do all the things, but I'm really good at organizing and putting it together and making it easy. I'm like, oh my God, I love you. Right? Like, be mine, right? Work-wise, right? I don't care, right? But like, that's because I'm a teams person. Like, if I can do that part where I can 100% be me every day. And so having had teams and having people that work for you, you also have to acknowledge that it's not about what's in your head. It's about making sure they understand it. So I'm trying to build my systems up now for myself that make it easy for me to understand how I work, so I can tell whoever I inevitably bring in to help me, this is the best way my brain works to think and how I'm going to be best able to workflow, because their job is to work with me, not me work to them, right? Not that we don't meet each other where they're at, but like, that's the game. And that's on like a big picture. That's what I'm working towards, is to get all those things lined up together. I'm okay with going a little slower and beating my head against the wall a little bit longer. I could execute faster and put out something fast right now. But, for me, it's like, I get into analysis paralysis. I won't ignore that and say, because I've done it for, there's $100,000 in the line because of this. Like, we got to make sure it's more perfect. But I also didn't have to be the full person that did everything. Right. But your name goes on the perfect version. So you're like, it should look like this. And when your video talents don't look like professional video talents, you're like, man, that's really tough. Or even, what do people want to hear? I don't know, because I get caught up feeling like, man, I hear the same lessons all the time because I love hearing what Pete Dupuis says about stuff, and Eric says about this, and John says about this. And so it's like, do I want to share that? Right? Like, I still get caught up, not because I don't have confidence in my own talents or what I've done, but it's like, I don't even market myself as a kettlebell expert. And I've taught workshops in more places, and I've taught more workshops than most coaches will coach sessions in prestigious places. And I don't qualify as an expert. I just qualify as I'm good enough to be where I'm here. Right. So then it's like, is that what I'm signing up for? Am I signing up to be that? And it's like, so I get too much analysis process of that. And it becomes like, sit down, shut the F up, do the thing. But here we are. It's part of that process. And I think, as doing it, if you don't go through it and own it and take ownership of the process and just like accept it as it comes, you're always going to be fighting something anyway. So you just, here it is, go through it, get it done, keep moving forward, hurry up and fail.
I love it. I mean, like, you're so fired up and passionate, and like, I don't have to even prompt you. Like, you just go the trajectory of the direction that I want you to go with the questions. I was like, I'm going to ask him next. And then you answered it just like you were reading my mind. Something that really got my attention, and it's something that I'll give you some context. So over the last few months, I've been doing a mentorship with Compound Performance with Kyle Dobbs and Matt Domney, and I found it very helpful because I am a procrastinator. I make lists. I think about things. I can be my own worst enemy because I'll want to perfect something and I won't make that next step. I'll have all these ideas. I'll have the plan. I'll know exactly what I have to implement to do them. But sometimes I need a timeline. And so then bringing it to what you told me about, and a little bit of just my creeping on your Instagram, like you gave that post about Peloton. I can tell you're going in the direction you talked about. Give me a piece of Peloton. So to give you context to why I told you about my mentorship is I got put on the spot and it was like, dude, what are you going to do on Monday to bring yourself closer to your goal? And so I want to put this on the internet to give you a piece of accountability, a little bit of a like draws you into your momentum to hold you accountable. What are you going to do on Monday to get a big piece of Peloton? What's your pitch for Peloton? It's going to be on a podcast now.
Well, I have. Funny thing is, using them as an example because it was easy. Going after someone else, inevitably, or we're already in discussions. But if I was looking at it, for the context of what you're asking, is I would look at, okay, let's first assess what values and experiences do I have in my career that may get me noticed by Peloton, right? Sure, that was an easy one because it was fun, it was engaging, it shows a little bit of my personality, and maybe a few people from Peloton might see it. Do you guys see this dude? Kind of funny, right? Oh, but they don't know anything about me, right? Until like, a couple people follow me from Peloton HQ, right? Let's see if anybody from LinkedIn finds me, right? Let's see if anybody finds, because there's a trail, right? It wasn't hard to find any information about me, right? You figure out my name, there's a rabbit hole. And so I would look at and say, okay, I also have to assess where do I think they're going and how do I think I can help, right? That post wasn't about me providing a solution at all in terms of that. If I was like trying to get a piece, or maybe I was trying to like not do my own thing and go work for Peloton, I'd be starting to kind of surf through LinkedIn, starting to find out, okay, who's there, right? Who do I know? And the first move is, who do I know that has anybody in common, right? That I think might actually have a real relationship, not we're just connected, to where can I get an in-person intro anywhere, right? Because Sam Pogue comes through on LinkedIn with a, hey, you want to connect? I'm a brand strategist that does this. Oh, this mother effer's trying to sell me something. He's going to have I help middle-aged, blah, 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 right? Versus, my homie who's the creative director of Beats by Dre, hey, this is like my little brother. You should talk to him. It's a very different conversation now, isn't it? That's step one. Let's see if you can get there. Then the conversation comes in. Let's say you get some time with someone. Well, let me give it to context here. When you're young in your career, you're hungry. You're asking the person they have experience, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Right? It's a good thing you're hungry. You're trying to show them you want something. The hard part is when you're on the other end of that is, oh my God, there's not a question I need help. It's what I need help with. I have to teach you how to do to help me. I'm looking for a turnkey solution that can help me today that I didn't even know I needed help. There was a blind spot, or that's so easy it doesn't make sense for me not to install it. Okay? So you earn that time with whoever you're talking to at whatever level, right? And you might have to start at customer service and see if you can get them to move you past. That's okay. You might have to eat it. You guys don't know Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx, right? She's the first billionaire self-made woman. She was a door-to-door fax copy saleswoman. You want to talk about getting told no? Do that. When I was getting out of college trying to find a job, I was searching around Craigslist, found these like, we do sports marketing. They're just targeting people who like sports and selling these freaking punch card coupon tickets to golf courses and bullshit, door to door to commercial businesses. I was like, whoa, okay, right? But you might have to start from that level. You might be there. That's okay, right? Learn from every conversation, right? Who I get to talk to 12 years in is Sam coming from On It and True Coach and this and this and this is going to have different conversations with different people than Sam at 2014 moving to Austin, who is just a young go-getter, right? Just hungry and full of ideas. But if I don't have something I can help you tomorrow with, it don't matter. Let's go back to the conversation with John Wolfe early. Hey, come work on it, pitch me. I want to travel the world and talk about On It. Nope. Oh. Okay, it inevitably ended up being what I did, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, I got to do that at the end. But first step was, I think I can help trainers develop better businesses. So they had about 400 coaches that had gone through the certifications by the time I came on board, 300-ish. And so I was like, well, I don't know anything about these people. I have no idea. I didn't even know anything about On It, to be honest. So I was like, I just came from phone sales. I called every single person that went through a certification, see if they'd have a call with me. Hey, what'd you like? What'd you not like? What'd you like? What'd you not like? Who are you? What can I do to help you? Have you tried this? What'd you do about this? Oh, that was really awesome. right? No idea who people were. Sometimes some of them became our master coaches. Sarah Jameson, Marcus Martin, right? Like some of them became people we're really good friends with later. But like, it was never about who I think I am. It was like, here's what I think might help. Here's not because I think I'm an expert, because here's what worked for me. I was at 24 Hour Fitness selling $65 sessions, right? You're on your own, building your own. Like, I try it. And you had to come in. Like, if it wasn't something that made his life easier, it wasn't going to matter. So if I'm looking at Peloton and say, okay, where do I think their pain point is? To think that they don't have existing people who are A players in positions already is dumb. But to also think a young company also has people who got put in positions they're not ready to be in. So there's going to be areas that they may not have vision. And so then it turns into like, okay, where do I think they're going? What are they trying to do next? Where's the thing that they're like on the mend for, that they're getting ready to get slapped in the face with something they weren't ready for? And can I come in and like, hey, have you thought about this? Not even trying to pitch anything. I'm just like, just something I thought of, right? And I would come at it from, depending on if I had an intro or not, I would come at it from the angle of, hey, here's my experience of, here's what I noticed consumer habits doing when I was on it, and what happens when we put them through an experiential model, blah, 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 blah. Here's what happens when I saw them at True Coach. Here's how I adapted our ad strategy to match our content strategy. I'm going to use specific examples of strategies I've personally gone through to see if that might bait the hook and say, oh, wow, what an interesting idea. That might work for us. And then we have a conversation. And you have to read the conversation. You have to read the person, because you're going to end up in two situations. You're either going to end up in the situation where it's your turn to talk, or it's your turn to listen. And you're going to have to read the person that you're with. Sometimes that person wants to talk, right? As much as I love to talk, I know I'm good at shutting the fuck up when I need to. And that's a really important skill, right? When you're trying to close someone on a deal, it's not about you talking all the time. It's about them finally saying yes, right? Who likes uncomfortable silence? No one.
Nobody.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I was a membership sales guy at 24, you had someone who's like, my brother, sister's cousin's a trainer. He's going to write my programs for me. Or they've been writing my programs for me. I don't need a trainer, if that was their line. How's that going for you? Well, I mean, like, right? And it's like, you just gave me this song and dance about how you're not happy about where your body is at and how you want to dance with your granddaughter at her wedding in 6 months. And right now, you can't even get off the couch on your own merit. You're going to tell me you're going to do the same exact shit you've been doing and you're going to get the same results? Or you're going to tell me you're tired of that song and dance and you're ready to make a change?
So true. It's so true.
Right? So, but the key thing is kids right now, I just use kids in general, you have to know where you're coming in at value. Because you have to know where you can make that person's life easier. And that's the same for all of you coaches out there who sell an online product. Anything we buy with our money, we're paying to make our lives easier. Can I grow my own food and hunt my own food? Sure can. I can also walk my ass to Whole Foods. Right? Do I have to hire someone to help me build my website? No. But it's a lot easier than learning HTML myself. Right? We pick and choose. And we have to go through. So we have these experiences. And that means that we have solutions to things that other people don't. And that means when you come into them, you have to be the person that says, hey, I got you. I can help you out. Right? Because that person, if we're going to use Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, I use a great example in the book about Star Wars, about how Luke goes through turmoil and loses his aunt and uncle, and he finds a guide. He finds Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sure, his future is a Jedi, but he's got to find someone to help him get him there first. Obi-Wan has to show him what the potential of being a Jedi can be. You can't just teach him how to use a lightsaber. What does it mean to be a Jedi? How does it feel? What are you going to have to go through? What else is going on? How do you listen to yourself? Right? Yeah, the solution is use a lightsaber and kill the things. Right? But at the end of it, would he have found lightsabers had he not met that guide? So if you're selling a product, you were the guide. Hey, Grandma Betty, I can help you swing dance at your wedding with Grandpa Earl. You're going to be throwing his ass in the air, right? You're going to be sea-stepping, sea-walk, whatever it's called, right? And it's not about deadlifting. It's about, you should see Grandma Cheryl over there. Homegirl out there is freaking tap dancing, right? And you're like, oh shit, okay, right? That's a whole different story than like, well, the mechanical stress that we're going to put under your femur under load without loading the spine with the deadlift and horizontal plate is like, I'm just rattling shit off. But it's like, that's not what she gives a shit about, right? So you have to remember, if I'm pitching Peloton, well, I'm going to know real quick if it falls in deaf ears because it's going to get ignored, right? So what you pitch, maybe the pitch has to get attention through the email. Hi, sir, ma'am. This is who I am. This is what I've done. This is why I think I might be able to add value to what you're doing. Would you be open to having a conversation? Oh shit! You're not asking for a job, not asking for anything. I just want to see if my ideas hold up. Would that be okay? Would that be a good use of your time? If it's not valuable after 15 minutes, I promise to let you go. Oh shit, man! How you're making this so easy on me to say no? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you say no to that? Right? And you have to make it to where, because there's plenty of people wanting to bark up the tree. I want to help. I want that. Because they think the cool job is traveling the world and, right? Like, sure, I got to travel the world and talk on it and travel and train athletes and speak at companies. But can you do that job if you're not dynamic in front of people? If you can't do shit on no sleep for weeks on end? If you can't switch from training a workshop in front of a bunch of physical therapists and then standing in front of a room of business executives? Nope.
So true.
Why do I well, because I had this from over here, this experience over here, this experience over here, right? So going into that conversation to do that, that's the way I would look at it from. For me, I've been kind of playing a careful game because it's really easy for me to set into, oh, here's a job offer. I should just go work there instead of doing my own thing. The hard part for me now is like, stop. Like telling people no is hard, right? Like, especially when it's people you really respect and it's like, so it's blanket. It's like, hey, you want a job? No, thank you. Appreciate it. Right? Because I want to be so dedicated to doing this thing because that's for me, my personal ambition. That's like my last frontier, right? I'm sure I can make money. I did that, proving it as a trainer. Okay, great. Oh, here's an opportunity. You can make some of that opportunity. Oh, you want to put yourself out there and now you're going to bet your job on shooting content and being in the front of the room as a marketer at True Coach? Cool. Oh, okay. You got acquired? Dope. What's the thing you haven't done? You haven't built your own thing up yet, right? Okay, great. Last frontier is, okay, if I want to really be mentioned in the front of the room and I want to really differentiate it, it's like, cool. I've already had a fitness career that most people will never have. And even if they were given the opportunities, would they have done the same thing? Probably not, right? But now it turns into, okay, I went and got out different experience than all of you over here. Now it's time to play the game and show you I can still play it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because my ego got caught up before being like, I'd watch someone like take off, their Instagram blow up, their podcast take off. I'm like, really? Like, I'm over here making dick money, watching you get blown up, and you're like, maybe I think you suck, right? Whatever. And it's like, and so I sit here being like, if any of you mother effers out there think I couldn't got off the ride and done the thing you do, done the online training, like, I'm built for it. Let's go. But I had to get the idea of like, you're getting such different experience, things that no one else are getting, that now it turns into, now I get to do something different. And it gets a little hard because I don't get to watch someone and say, oh, this is what you did. I'm going to follow that. It's a little like, oh, I got to build, like, I don't have someone I get to replicate because who's had my career. Right. And so it's like, and so that's my struggle is going through like, I don't get to emulate a whole lot of it. I get to take pieces. Right. And it's constantly just waking up. For me, it really sucks because while I have a shitload of ambition, like it really sucks sleeping like shit every night. Right? Like getting 5 hours of crappy sleep most nights is like the days I sleep like crap, it's like, oh, okay. So it's a struggle. Versus the days I get good sleep is like, let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so and that's why the sleep thing, that's why I went after it so hard during this was because it's not a lack of wanting to do shit. The only days you don't want to do it is when you wake up like crap. Right? Which is like, I still get something done, but it was like, what happens if you got 8 hours of sleep every night? What happens? And during that time, while it's tough right now, balancing the act of figuring out life of entrepreneurship and working really hard on like counting calories, deficit, working out, doing all the things, is like coming out of this. Like when I know coming out of this period is like, shit, man, I'm going to be great with my health. I'm going to be sleeping better. And I went through the battle of figuring out my time and my, working off my values and working off, what I want to do, you know what I mean? And so it's about getting myself set up to where I can pursue things, in a way that allows me to give into them fully. I don't know if that's shoot content one day, write one day, half a day of this, half a day of that, and still playing with that. How much, because I like to be present on camera, I don't like to look at my email before I get on camera if I don't have to, because a bad email ruins your day. But also having the time to like, okay, if I want to do this, this, and this, and this, I have to have time to do this, this, and this, and this. But I still have to make time for my own thing over here, right? So I welcome, while it's not always easy, I welcome the struggle, because I have a thing about, I call it make tomorrow easier, to where, sure, some days you don't want to write the blog. Some days you don't want to edit the podcast. You don't want to shoot the content. You don't want to write the thing. But man, the guilt of like sitting down and watching a movie doing nothing makes me feel like an asshole. And that's worse. Okay. So you also can't fight creativity. You can to an extent. So I call it making tomorrow easier, to where it's like, all right, start getting some other shit taken care of, right? Like get your kitchen clean your bathroom, where that is a procrastination tool. But if I go into it, where it's like, all right, dude, just get it done, right? And then it's like, now you have no excuse. But it's like, well, was cleaning my kitchen instead of watching a movie more productive? Yep. Because now I don't have that excuse, right? So, and it trickles down to everything, to where at night I have my water bottle set up to where I have a gallon of water ready to go to drink the next day. I set my coffee pot up, so all I got to do is turn the button on, and that way I can like take a shower, do the thing, and like, okay, all my stuff is ready to go. And that's why I keep the boards up around my house. So it's like, if I got an idea, just, because sometimes it catches. You know, Mel Robbins has a great book called The 5-Second Rule, and she just has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and do it. And it's like, oh my God, I think that's what I'm really good at, is that I just make it so easy for me to have an idea and work with it that inevitably gets stuff done. Now it comes down to backtracking and like, okay, and setting, I'm not a good timeline setter, right? So for me, if I'm answering your question now, it turns into like, okay, Monday, if I'm really moving my needle forward, I'm going to get all my shit organized and set some hard timelines to get some stuff done. Because I have to tell graphic designers when I need stuff done, when I need this done. I have to give myself commitments to when I get this done, so I can push it out there. Because personally, like, I'm running out of time to like not have a job and money coming in, to not, have something out. And it's like, it's good. It's not perfect, but it's good. Get it out. So it's constantly, and for me, I just try to be so aware of it so I can at least intake it and share it. Like, here's what I'm going through. Because a lot of people, like, the ability to have this like persona of being loud and dynamic gives you the appearance of this a lot of confidence. And I have a lot of I'm very confident. I'm very confident in what I know. But I also want it to be very shared that like the things I'm not good at, the things I'm not talented in, I struggle with too. And I was sharing a book I was reading about personal development, and someone made a comment. A buddy of mine was like, "Oh man, I'm surprised you share that you read these kind of books." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Doesn't it make you kind of a pussy to read that kind of stuff?" I was like, I mean, I kind of like working on myself, man. It's like, and he's like, it's cool that you do it because it makes me feel better about doing it, because you hang out with pro athletes and do all this cool stuff. And it makes me feel good. I'm like, oh, wow. So for me, I very highly value introspection and self-awareness. And so as I go through this process, while it sucks sometimes, like I try to relish in it so I can at least be aware of what so many people are struggling with. That's not, because information's out there. All the information's out there for free. You want to learn how to start a blog, a podcast? It's there. It's free, right? As an ebook, as a video, whatever. But what's stopping most people is the excitement from going and pursuing stuff and fearing what it could become. And I just expressed to you that, sure, is that thing going to be the thing? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that email to Peloton didn't happen. Nothing happened from it. You got no love. No one responded back to you. But what, did you just learn how to write a pitch email? Is your next one going to be a little bit better? Okay. Peloton's pretty big. Like, pretty foolish to think that if you're not foolish, that's the wrong way to put it. If you're someone that doesn't have enough experience to come in and say, hey, I can make an impact, it's probably going to be tough for you to make an impact. Unless you're like, hey, I'll come in and take a bottom level job and work my way in. Right? That's a possibility. Or you can come in and say, find where you can add value. Right? Let's say you're someone that comes from being a graphic designer and you're looking at a brand. Hey, this would be like, so now you have a different insight to share. That's not just about the thing you have, so now you can attack that problem, right? Lean into the expertise you do have and try to tether that into the area you're trying to help, right? Here's where I'm really good. I went through, if you're a nutrition coach, I have a really tough experience with my history of food. I've gone through eating disorders, yada, yada, yada. So do you think you're pretty well equipped to help someone that has gone through a similar journey? Probably better prepared than me, right? Doesn't mean I haven't worked with someone who's struggled with it, But someone who struggled with a lifelong battle with food is going to probably help someone differently than someone who didn't, you know? And so when you present that opportunity, you present that solution, it's like, wow, you know me. You're inside my head. You're thinking about that. And so that's what we have to get to when we start looking at that productivity is, you know, maybe that event is not the thing, but now it turns into, maybe you want to collaborate with that peanut butter company you really love. Great. Okay. Peloton emails, sure, didn't go anywhere. Next one up. Try another one. Try another one. Try another one. Try one until it doesn't work. Right. And you're only going to get better. Right. You're only going to learn things. I'm like, ooh, people didn't like that, or people responded to this. And maybe you don't end up shooting a bunch of content. Maybe you get a couple contracts, you shoot some content for some people, you do some content for someone, and you're like, you know what, this isn't really the thing I really like doing, but I really like this part of the process. Great, go after that part of the process, right? Take that and run with it. Take that and run with it. And you know, I think that falling into the thing that is prevalent to you, that's like, I need to lean into that for a second, or it's like I have to do it for a second, is such a powerful journey, because it now puts you in a spot to learn a new skill. And maybe that secondary skill becomes your thing. Or maybe it's just something that, like, okay, at least I know more about it to help me going forward, right? When I was starting Fitness Break Room, I was at the Barbell Shrugged Mastermind, back when Barbell Shrugged they had a mastermind, and there's what's called the Hot Seat Challenge. And so you sit there and you have a 30-minute window to present your greatest challenge and opportunity, and everybody there can kind of pitch and prod and poke holes at your shit. And Aaron Hines, the founder of FitAid, grabbed me off to the side and said, hey, bro, I don't care what you do with your little personal training, which was going to be a personal training coaching business. He goes, whatever you do, you need to be on video. And I was like, wow, that was a very nice compliment.
Yeah, that's really good.
I need you sitting on a bike being like, hey, if you're a 24-hour fitness without a client, here's what you should be doing. He's like, that should be you. And I was like, wow, it was really. And so like that really pushed me ended up being a podcast, right? And I went video because like, well, if I'm going to be in this city with this coach in this gym, like might as well shoot it, right? And then learning video production got me the job at True Coach. Had I not had the podcast, I wouldn't have got the job at True Coach. And now it's like, well, I'm not an expert in video production. I know a fair amount about it, right? Enough to know what I need to know to talk to a video editor or designer, and like enough to shoot my own stuff. But like, I'm not trying to be Christopher Nolan, right? Like, I'm not trying to be like, I very much appreciate the craftsmanship of other people's stuff now. My best friend Cody's a video editor, and I'm like, wow, I respect what he does so much more now. Not that I didn't before, but like, editing videos is so hard. Like, I called him yesterday. I was like, bro, I need help getting transcripts on a video, or transcriptions on a video. And he's like, that's the bane of my existence. Here we go. And I'm like, it makes me feel better knowing that you hate it too. It does. It makes me feel a little bit better that you hate it. So yeah. And part of like the accountability thing for me is just, I love self-discovery. I love finding where my blind spots are at because it tells me, okay, either you're gonna have to lean into it or figure out a way to get around it or have someone help you with it, right? Because I'm such a big picture thinker. Like, if I don't have all the information on the front end, it's really hard for me to operate. But I will say it's a gift that I'm able to put together the big picture quickly, right? Listen, ascertain, okay, analyze. Here's what I think. And the ability to having been in so many dynamic environments is giving me the ability to do it fast with examples, right? And it's like, oh, like this. And they're like, oh, shit, okay, you're a step ahead. Hold on. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. And to realize, okay, to practice the skills I'm getting better at, right? And just knowing that, because here's the thing, we're on an elevator and we can get off the elevator anytime we want, right? We're just playing that level. But you can also keep riding the elevator up, right? It means you're foregoing all the shit below you. But that means that your potential to grow up here is different. The game you get to play is different, right? It's like, okay, sure. Could I have started a gym back in the day? For sure. Could I have done the online coaching thing and maybe had more of a chill, less travel-y, a little bit more friendly life, right? Travel more, do the things? Sure, could have. Or I can sit here and be on podcasts and tell stories of getting to travel the world and do this and teach this and do that, right? Like, it's different. It's what you give up. It's what you get to do. So figure out the thing that you can really leverage and add value and help that turnkey solution, and then run with it, and then know that you're going to have to learn a lot going forward. And then from that, you can figure out your blind spots. So I know that was really round from your original question, but here we are.
It's cool. You did it again. I was going to be like, give me a 1-sentence challenge for the day, and you just did. And so I'll just use that. And I want people to know exactly like where to find you, and I want them to know something that you're really proud of that you want to share with the audience today.
Wow. Well, you can find me. You can go to my website, sampogue.com, Instagram, SPOGUE86. And right now I have Fitness Break Room up with a lot of episodes with past fitness coaches. I haven't actively been putting anything into it, but there's like 60 episodes with coaches around the industry and their stories about how they got to where they are. Something I'm really proud of. Honestly, it's to be able to go from, I operate from this chip on my shoulder, ambitious attitude because I recognize I won really early in life. I will sit here and reflect and think that the other version of the cards I should have been dealt was, sure, maybe I survived being left on the street 3 months premature and then grow up through the orphanage in Korea. And maybe I'm a 34-year-old man today. But what am I doing? What am I doing with my time? Am I on the street? What am I doing? I didn't grow up with a family that got to I got to play every sport I ever asked to play. I didn't get to go to college. I didn't get to have a career and go try to figure out my life and supported with the life that was given to me, right? They gave me the opportunity to win. And so I want to pay them back by going and achieving, right? Here's what you can get with an opportunity, a glimmer of hope. Look what you can get, right? When I moved to Boulder, I got to sit here and look at my life differently because shit, man, I got to have an experience that was better than your childhood dream job, right? Like you're already doing it. Holy crap. This is the world you live in, right? And for me to now look at my life, it's like, holy shit, you beat your childhood dream job by the time you're 33 years old, 32 years old. And you have arguably the most amazing network of people around the world and drop into every major city in the world and have friends, have a couch to sleep on, places to go hang out. I've got to accomplish cool things, got to tell cool stories. I get invited to do cool things. I get to meet people. That's what I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of that in a world where it's so easy to get bogged down by all the things that we're not or all the things we couldn't do, that just with a little bit of an attitude of like, fuck it, let's go, right? You can really get what you want, right? And I hate to sound so cliche, but like, our parents pushed that message when we were kids for a long time. If you believe it, you can go do it. I know not everybody's parents did that, but that was the general message of the boomers to this age group. And now look at the things that we've produced from that, right? Is just like all these amazing products and apps and these things that we would have never thought possible, right? Our parents saw the TV come into existence from a box that's a 4-inch black and white picture to a 70-inch thing you hang on your wall that's 3 pounds that shows you a 3D picture that tickles you when you have a cool thing, right? Like it's, I can only look up things in the library and in an encyclopedia that someone maybe wrote down, to, the world of YouTube has everything, right? So to be in this spot to where I've had, it's been I feel so honored and blessed when people tell me I'm inspiring or it's so like that I inspire them to be better. I help them or whatever it is, right? Like it's very honoring to me because I've had so many people that have touched my life. It's like, holy shit, I wouldn't be here without them. Like I couldn't have gotten here without these moments in my life. And I know that so many people get stuck from taking that step because they're scared that it's scary. It may not happen. I don't know, And I hope that if anything, even if we never meet in person, even if you don't follow what I do in my career and whatever, the moment that we share that you hear this or whatever is something that is like, man, let it fly. Send it. Let's go. Try it. You want to have that blog? You want to have that travel blog and live a life? Do it. You want to do this with your family? Do it. You think this is possible? Because right now the internet makes that possible. Right? My parents didn't go to college, right? And my dad worked at a paper mill for 30-something years. My mom was a youth minister, right? I didn't have contacts coming out of school. I got to go, they put me through college, right? They helped me pay my bills and do the thing. And then it was like, oh shit, you don't have we thought that you get out of college, you get a career handed to you. Ooh, no career, 2008, there's no jobs? Go create something, right? Then it's like, wow, a little bit of like help here and there. Like I had to have help to get there. But like, it's like, yeah, let me show you what I can do now. Right? little kid that you saw growing up loving pro baseball is like, yeah, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm flying to Philly to go hang out with Jake. What? Right? Oh, I'm in Seattle this weekend. Why? I'm having dinner at Earl Thomas's house. What? Right? Like, I feel so blessed with the opportunities I've had, and they're out there for people. It doesn't need to be at the same scale level. It doesn't matter. But whatever version that you want of that, that's there. So that's what I want my story to be, is that, for the trainers out there, I'm a weekend cert trainer that does not have a degree, that does not have a CSCS, right? I've taught workshops at the NSCA. I've taught workshops at every single Exos performance facility, Eric Cressy's. Not because I can name the most bones in the foot, because I can't, but because I focused on trying to be me, right? And leaning into whatever version that is and figuring out, okay, here's a dynamic skill set I'm possessed with and I'm given. How can I use that to the best of my ability? And now I got to go pick up the other skills and the rest of it. Let's see what happens, right? So, for me, so grateful to not, like, and I get really nostalgic about it, right? Like, even in Portland, I was there one day and I was walking from 24 to my old apartment. I'm like, holy crap, I've done this walk 5,000 times. And every day thinking like, yeah, sure. Was it cool being a personal trainer? Yeah, it was fun. I liked it. But it's like, this is not what you want for your life. This isn't what, it was, but you're 23. It's fine. Right. But it's like, damn, dude, how do you get to go do something cool? How do you feel really fulfilled? How do you get that, like, where you swag out over your job? Right. And you're like, man, I'm a podcaster. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a this. I'm a that. Like, it's part of our identity, to where it's like tough. Like being a member. I'm a membership sales guy at 24 Hours. You're what? Right. Personal trainer. Okay, cool. Right. Oh, I power lift. Oh, okay, cool. Right. Oh, I'm the director of strategic partnerships on it. Fucking dope. Let's go. Right. Like, wow. How'd you get there? I don't know. I just showed up. Right. What? Yep. Timing. Literally just, I'll work that. I'll do that. Yep. I'll do that. I'll be there. I'll do that. Say yes. So the ability to say yes, the ability to go into things learning, the ability to not know, I think going into things blind, right, is kind of a beautiful gift. Well, I wanted to work in sports. It was not I didn't want to go do the ticket sales route, right? Because I didn't want to be the sales guy. So it was like, okay, I want to work in baseball. And so it worked out, right? Without having to, like, right? It's a North Star. Every time I could leverage my opportunity, my job on it to talk to someone in baseball, for sure. You're the strength coach with the Phillies? Oh my gosh, so cool. Oh yeah, I love baseball, right? Oh, Jake Arrieta gets shown up to the Philadelphia. He brings me into the clubhouse. Hey guys, great to see you again. It's so good to see you. Wow. Those couple interactions over the last couple years worked out pretty well, to where you let me train him in the clubhouse, right? Like, I don't work here. And it's like, oh, because I'm not trying to be a dick about it, right? I was like, oh, dude, I'm like, just let me, like, try to stay out of the way, do the thing, right? And, so I can't express enough the power of just saying yes to new shit. Try it. If something pops up in front of you, hey, do you want to try this? Sure. Why not? It doesn't need to be your thing, because you're going to learn something from it. And then just keep saying yes to shit over and over and over and again, trying to help other people out along the way, introduce people to who you meet along the way. Next thing you know, holy shit, you're the linchpin across a lot of people. How'd you meet Sam? How'd you meet Sam? How'd you meet Sam? Oh shit. Okay, this mother effer knows everybody. Holy crap. What? Okay. Right? And you can do it from zero. Right? It's like, while I'm naturally have an affinity for the skill set, it's not, you can do it within your industry, right? You're a gamer, streamer, great. Get to know people on the gaming Twitch and stream to play your game. You want to do stand-up comedy? Get to know your local comedian scene. You're a podcaster? Who are the podcasters in your local community, in the local area you get together with? Who are the local podcasters that have shows like yours, right? Who cares? Get to know people, right? Sure, you may never be on theirs. Don't do the show for show trade bullshit. Just like, hey, you should be on this person's got a dope show. You should listen to them. Wow, that was nice. That was cool. Wow. Right? Just do things and see what happens. And I think there's a lot of powerful things that will come from that.
That's awesome. And I mean, I'll have to wrap it up, but like, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've imparted on my audience. It's been quite the episode, and I think a lot of people will get a lot out of it. So thank you so much for joining me.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the time and letting me rant. And hopefully it was hitting all the buttons for the people.